finished something. Yay! All right, maybe it's not quite that much of a party, but what this is going to be will be the reveal video for the BMW 318i Hasegawa kit that I started building back for the 24-hour build back in January. Basically, what had happened with this kit and this build was that I got a really, really nice paint job out of it. And so I slowed everything down to try to see where it would wind up. I don't ever build for contests per se. I mean, I go to them, I enter stuff when I have stuff that I think will at least be competitive. Not going there strictly to compete, strictly to win. But if, you pick up something, it's always nice. But like I said, I got a really nice paint job out of the can. It's just going to be a straight rattle can paint job. And so I just sort of slowed everything down. Instead of trying to cram everything into 24 hours, I just sort of let the thing flow like it would. Basically, I bjorked the windows on this pretty good, and it's going to be a little tip for anybody who's considering building one of these in the future, because we'll do a little kit critique here while we take a look at it. Again, this isn't going to be like a 5-hour video or anything like that. Hopefully, I can get a relatively short one in. I just want to talk about some of the pitfalls of this kit, at least what you need to look for, as well as just, looking at the build and seeing what it looks like. And so anybody who doesn't remember, that we built this kit. This is the Team Schnitzer BMW 318i, designed to be a Japanese touring car championship version of for Team Schnitzer, which is of course a German team that had Steven Soper and Johann Winkelhock as their primary drivers. There are 3 versions of this kit. There's this one. There is a, try to see if I have it handy. There's this one, which is the British touring version of it. Straight up just a FINA sponsorship. It's actually a very basic decal scheme, as you can see there. Not just those checker flag decals that would pretty much become a standard Team Schnitzer thing through the 90s. And then there's this, which was one of the original ones. I know I'm hugging the box, but it's just so I don't get muffled behind the box. This is another Japanese touring car championship. This is the Autotech sponsored version. Ooh, dusty. Need to build it. This one's molded in yellow. The other ones are molded in white. If you're thinking about getting one, they are a variation of the street car that Hasegawa did. Because I've got everything, right? They did this 320, and they did this 318, which obviously it's a version of this. The kits are pretty much the same, pretty much identical except for decals, because in real life you got a 1.8 in here and a 2.0 in here, and there's not actually any difference. One of the first things I did with those kits when I bought them was to open them up and look at them and see what the difference was. And other than the decals, that's it. So this is, like I said, a race car version of that street car kit. So it has a lot of compromises in the sense of what it is and how it fits together. And like I said, we'll take a look at that, spin it around over this way, and we'll see you guys in a second. All right, guys, so here she is, all done within the context of being done, I guess. Through the building and development of this kit, I've become friends with a guy who runs a company called SK Decals out of Hong Kong and Macau. And they're doing their own version of these decals, which I will be getting as soon as they come in from the printer, because I'm going to build the twin to this vehicle that was done in a specific, slightly different color scheme and sponsorship thing than this one is done for a practice session. These front bumper wraparounds will be a different color. The car does not have a Watson sponsorship here. It has a FINA sponsorship. This is also missing, and a couple of little details here and there. I think the mirrors are, instead of being black, are actually colored with the windshield. Let's see if I can get that out of the glare. These windshield colors that are specific to the driver. This set of decals is the Studio 27 set of decals. It is reasonably accurate. There are various issues, small issues with color tone and some associate sponsorships. They're not technically correct, but what this car represents with Joachim Winkelhock driving it is the second place finisher for the Gia Race of Macau in 1993. This car is painted in various shades of Tamiya white, basically. The car itself is just Tamiya gloss white. It is not cleared, mainly because I wasn't looking for a real shiny car. I can see a few things I got to detail out here. Where as I look at it here, there's places where the detailing, I went in and went back and put panel lines in. And, yeah, not the greatest, but that looks a little bit better. At any rate, there are 3 drivers you can pick for this, either Winkelhock, Steven Soper, or I'm trying to think what the man's name is. Last name's Quan. He's a Chinese driver. And basically the only difference with the kit itself as far as the decals themselves with them are, of course, the driver name, which is on the side window as well as the rear window, which may or may not show up because it's a white decal, and white's hard to make show on a camera anyway. There you go. And then these little squares are separate decals, and they're color coded to the driver, and of course the number will be different. The decals themselves, they're all right, because you're doing a lot of, obviously, these swooshes that go across the back here, and this one that goes across the front of the hood here are all one piece, as well as this piece that's up here on the roof. This piece here and this piece here are separate, and then there are pieces back here that go on the sort of finish the swoosh on the back here. Those pieces are separate. Obviously, especially these ones on the side, you're doing a lot of compound curving. The decals aren't quite radiused correctly as far as the shape of the kit. But overall, it took about 90 minutes per swoosh, these ones being almost 2 hours, with a combination of my 2 favorite chemicals. I say they're the fountain of youth, because if this doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger. Microsol and Microset, alternating back and forth between the two. Basically, you put down Microset underneath the decal, put the decal on, then hit Microsol probably 2 or 3 times, and then start hitting with Microset, because Microset is designed so that once the surface moisture evaporates off, that you go over it and start smoothing the decal out. Microsol makes the decal very, very soft, makes it very prone to tear, and you really probably shouldn't try to apply any kind of pressure to it when you have the actual Microsol cooking the decal, so to speak. It's kind of hard to see, basically, because there's a lot of distortion with these windows. I have a slideshow at the end of the video with some outside pictures in the sun of the chassis itself, as well as the interior. The interior, this glass has a lot of distortion in general. I didn't make it any better by the way I've installed it, but the glass is, like I said, not particularly fantastic. One thing to look out for when you're building this kit. This kit, basically, based on the street car, has 2 little holes here for windshield wipers. And I only get 1 wiper because this is one big central wiper that went through here. And because the one central wiper is sort of a factor of what the car looks like in its own right, I wanted to make sure that I installed it. Well, installing the wiper in such a way that the bottom of the windshield will actually touch the body itself requires you to scooch the windshield up so far that the mounting hole basically shows up so that the whole windshield wiper is above the grade of the body. Unfortunately, that takes the entire glass and shoves it backwards about, I don't know, a 1/16 of an inch further back than it needs to sit. And when it does that, it gaps the glass. You can probably see here, there's a rather large gap around here. It doesn't fit very good to the A-pillars, and it's especially noticeable in the back where the glass doesn't fit on the C-pillars or the roof at all. Now you'd be like, why did you build it that way? Well, this is part of my bjorking of the windows. I decided, since there are this glass is all one big piece, it might serve very well to chop it into 4 or at least maybe 2 different pieces. Chop the side glasses off the window and just leave this as one big piece in between. That, because it's one big piece, I could mount it in there with CA glue rather than canopy glue, because I wouldn't need to worry about having glue squirt out any corners. Somehow along the way, I managed to get glue on my finger. And that's like Murphy's Law of super glue, is never glue clear pieces in with super glue because you're going to touch something you shouldn't. And sure enough, I put a nice little fingerprint right here on this glass. Now I've hit it with a couple of grades of sanding and sort of buffed it out a little bit. I probably could have went after it for a while, but this glass is also very very stiff, which makes it very fragile, and I didn't want to shatter it. And once it was in there with the super glue that I used, because I used a reasonably good amount of it to make sure it would stay up in there, because like I said, it's stiff, fragile glass. It's kind of heavy, and I didn't want it to fall. My fear with using canopy glue would be that it would eventually fall back out via gravity while I was waiting to mate everything together. It's stuck in this sort of backwards position. So we just made the best we could do with it. When we do the practice car, guess what? We're not going to put the windshield wipers on at all, because again, they'll be below the grade of the body and you can't see it at all, unless you really want to have that look, so to speak, of having that windshield wiper up there. In which case, you know what? I'm going to have to recommend that you go fish out some photo etch, or you're going to have to shave the base of this wiper down quite a bit in order to get it to fit, because it gaps the cowl. Like, even with this being as back as far as it is, I can still, from this angle, see down into no man's land, because this is a curbside and it doesn't have any kind of, base. There's no, engine compartment at all. The mirrors, which I don't know if they'll show up on video because I'm just kind of like watching my own video in the background here. The mirrors here have been bare metal foiled on both sides, as well as the rearview mirror, which you can't even see anymore with the Watson's banner in there. The parts themselves are not, they're not chromed in real life. There are inserts for this mirror, so you're not just sort of, painting nothing or bare metal foiling nothing. There are inserts for the mirror, but they're just plastic. They're not chromed. And I know a lot of people will sit here and Sharpie me or chrome paint me, whatever you want to. But unfortunately, I don't care what you say. Chrome paint and Sharpies are silver. They're not chrome, and therefore they look like crap when you make mirrors out of them, because your mirrors on your car are reflective, not just look like shiny fence posts. So, whoop, geez, we're way too close there. This is the chassis. I'll tilt it sideways so it'll fit into the shot here. Chassis is Tamiya primer white, or Tamiya white primer, I guess I should say. You got that sort of sea of anemone here where this block is molded into the chassis, and it's not separate like a Tamiya engine insert would be, where there'd be free space here. So you do sort of have an engine growing out of a sea of black. There's not really much you could do about that. The engine itself is aluminum, semi-gloss black, and there's some metallic gray in here. The exhaust system itself is steel, Tester's acrylic steel with some silver accents just to break up the color a little bit. These pieces are separate in the kit, and they're painted semi-gloss black out of the spray paint can. All of the rest of the suspension members down here, this center part is painted aluminum. This is magnesium, or what do they call that color? Oh, there we go. I'm going to put my arm in front of it. Titanium gold for the connectors here, because that's what the color callouts are. I don't know how correct that is, technically speaking, but I like the way it looks anyway. Breaks up the color, and then we go again, more steel components here. The front up here is more steel components here. The disc brakes are, pretty, assuming I can even go, there we go, are pretty bland. There's no surface detail to them whatsoever. They're just painted aluminum with steel calipers. The wheels themselves are Tamiya primer, white primer again, with titanium silver hubs. Like I said, you'll have to wait, but believe me that I painted the interior. The interior tub itself is painted Tamiya primer white. The door panels are just semi-gloss black. Roll cage is flat white acrylic paint, just regular, off-the-shelf Tamiya XF2. The dashboard in this kit, and you'll see it in the pictures of the interior, is a weird piece that doesn't fit this car pretty much at all. you end up freestanding this thing in here. Where you see it doesn't really touch either side of the interior tub itself. It is a separately tooled piece for the racing kit, and this is, again, part of the weirdness of this kit in general as far as it being crossed between a street car and a race car, where basically there's only one attachment point to this entire thing, and it is a raised notch on the transmission tunnel, and you just have to take a couple whacks at getting it put in place the right way, and then the very, very leading edge of the dashboard does touch just barely, and I mean by like maybe a 32nd of an inch, or maybe like 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, the very, very front of the interior tub itself. So you glue it, to get it sort of freestanding in the middle, and then you can lean it onto the edge, and glue it from underneath there. Beyond that, the racing seat is a two-part seat. There's a mount and a seat. It all sort of fits well. The interior itself is pretty nicely detailed as far as being sort of a scrubbed-out base interior, although there's not a whole heck of a lot of side panel detail on the street car either. It's a 90s tool Japanese kit, very basic, very cheap in the sense of it was not a pricey kit. It was not a very expensive. I think there were about 1,800 yen, 2,000 yen back in the day, which is like, again, $18, $20. So it's not a Tamiya grade kit by any stretch of the imagination. Other things I've done here is I've bare metal full the kidneys around the grill itself, rather than painting them silver. The car does have tow hooks on the front and the back that are, again, separately tooled for the race car. You have to drill out holes in the bumper, which is no big deal because that's just the way that sort of thing goes. And I think the only thing I really have to do here is I still have to stick the Yokohama sort of reverse wet transfers on here. But other than that, the kit's done. Everybody will notice there's a hole here, basically. Man, I got a lot of glare. There we go. The hole here with nothing in it. There should be another number 2 there because there's one on each side, and then there's also one up here on the roof. But Studio 27, when they made this decal sheet, did not include 4 of each number. They included 3 of each number, which is right because most race cars have 3 of each number, a roof and 2 sides, but the Gia race of Macau that year had 4. They sent out a technical bulletin shortly after this decal sheet was released saying, hey, by the way, your guys are all going to be short of a number. Please submit your address to our overseas processing department with where you bought it from and that kind of stuff, and we'll get you another set of 3 numbers. And I did that, and they never showed up. So this is, even though I hate the term done for now because it makes it sound like you just gave up, this is done for now because I don't have that too. Now, like I said, the guys at SK Decals are going to be doing this same decal sheet with the option to do either the race version, which is what this is, or the pre-race testing version. And this race version should also have another decal down here in this green field that is also just completely missing from the Studio 27 decals in general. So once those decals come in and I get them over here from Hong Kong, I'm going to apply the decals where they belong here so this looks as good as it can. And then he is sending me another, just a 2, so I can put it up here and finish it. And then, like I said, this will be done. It is done. I'm not going to do anything else to it other than stick the tire decals on. And it'll go hang out in its box waiting for my display shelves to get put up. And that's it. So, final thoughts. I'm going to grade the kit. I'm going to give it like a 6.5, mainly just because of the compromises that are involved with making a race car out of a street car and not kitting a race car out of a street car. I guess another thing I didn't show you here is that on the race car, they don't have fog lights. They have little sheet metal inserts to go into the fog light holes. In the kit itself, they just give you the fog lights. There are no separate pieces of plastic. Now, obviously, that's not a big deal. You just have to cut out a little sheet plastic to fit in there. But again, it's sheet plastic. It would cost, 10 cents to tool it up. It's just part of that, not a dedicated race car thing. overall, it goes together well. There were no real major assembly issues. Several things are very finicky, and I will say that the wheels on this kit are incredibly hard to attach because they're designed to fit in a recessed keyhole type of deal. Basically, the circle exists, and then in the middle of the top of the circle, it's bent in like this. Not to say that we love you, but it's sort of in the shape of that. And that does correspond with the wheel back. However, the wheel back has no depth to it at all as far as how much lip, for lack of a better term, they give you to install it to the front of the brake rotor, or well, it would be the wheel hub technically. So you have to CA or 5-minute epoxy the wheels on because they attach just by sheer attraction. There's no actual way to seat them onto the wheel hub itself like you would in a traditional model kit. I don't know if, again, that has to be a situation with the suspension and the racing wheels that were tooled up for this not, meshing very well. We saw this with the Fujimi McLaren 12C, where you got a new race seat in the 2013 version that doesn't fit the interior because the interior was never actually modified to accept it. It's just way too big. Well, this is sort of the same thing. Yes, they're very nice BBS racing wheels. You could certainly, if you wanted to try to pull off some sort of center hub nut kind of thing on a street car, use them for other things. But in this kit, they don't fit the actual hubs themselves very well. It's polycap attachment. And it's a male polycap attachment the way a Tamiya kit is, because there's just no recess for the wheels and the hubs to fit together. Excuse me, guys. I guess that's it. So, like I said, hope you enjoyed it. It's finally off the bench after almost 6 months, and huzzah at that. It hasn't been something I've been like, ooh, I don't like this. Although the glass, that's my fault. I can't be mad at the kit. I'm mad at the kit that I didn't test fit it better, I guess, to know that I shouldn't have just took the wiper off and left it alone. But, it is what it is. And I'm just, like I said, I'm happy to have it off the desk because it's something I've been poking at for a while, and now it's done. So on to the next one. So anyway, guys, photos after the yakking stops, and we'll see you guys on the other side.